Hello to all. So I'm back with another lecture on financial management, and we'll be continuing with the topic of capital budgeting today. A brief introduction of mine. You can go through the slide. So I'm Sandhya Rao, assistant professor working at St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management. So today we'll be covering the topic of capital budgeting. So far, we have already covered the topics of cost of equity, time value of money, capital rationing. Now, the next thing, which is relating to investment decision, is capital budgeting. People might have heard about this term that, capital budgeting is very important, and there are several things that we have to consider when we are talking about capital budgeting. So, what exactly is this capital budgeting all about? So if you could see this picture, there's a guy named Peter, and he's trying to make a decision that whether he should pursue this project of $10 million or not. So capital budgeting is somewhat similar to that only. When a person or an investor faces this dilemma, whether or not he should pursue a given project or not, a given investment project or not. So every company have a number of investment options available with them, and they have to make a choice that which option is actually good for them, or which option will actually increase their wealth, or shareholders wealth maximization objective will be met with. So if we start with the definition, so capital budgeting is the process that a business uses to determine which proposed fixed asset purchases it should accept, which means that which investment should we accept and which should be declined. Now, this process is used to create a quantitative view of each proposed fixed asset investment, thereby giving a rational basis of making a judgment. So, whenever we have to take this decision that which investment option should be taken up or not, then we have to do a critical analysis, and being a rational investor, it should always be advisable that we always do a proper evaluation of each and every investment option, and that process is actually known as capital budgeting. So if you could see this picture, so the process of capital budgeting starts with identification and generation. Now this identification and generation is about the project, about the various projects that we can identify. So for example, if our objective is that we want to expand. Now when we want to expand our business, there are so many options available. We can introduce a new product, or we can make new production places. We can expand with the production sites, and so on and so forth. There are many options available. Now when we have already chosen one project for us, or one strategy in which we are going to expand, then there are so many investment projects available in that particular line. All right, so we have to identify all those options available. Then second thing is that we have to do screening and evaluation, which means we will decline or we will reject all those options which are not feasible for us, which are not meant for us. And we will evaluate each and every project on the basis of the criteria being selected. For example, we might choose NPV as our criteria, and we will evaluate the NPV of all the projects. Or we might just see that, what are the profitability index of each and every project. Then we might also want to know what is the IRR or ARR for each and every project, or what is the payback period for each and every project. So based on that, we will evaluate all the options. Next thing will be project selection, which means once we are done with the evaluation and screening, which means we have already rejected those projects which are not meant for us, which are not feasible for us. And now, out of the good options, we have to select the best one, which means those projects will be selected, which gives us the maximum NPV or minimum payback period, or we can say maximum profitability index based on the criteria being selected. After that, we will actually implement the project, which means we will invest our money in that project. That is implementation. And once we have already invested our funds in that project, the next thing will be performance review, which means we will want to know that whether we are performing well or not, whether we are operating efficiently or not. That is performance review. So once this entire cycle is done, if we feel that we are not able to meet our set objectives, we will start with this cycle all over again. We will have to check that where did we actually went wrong. And if all was good, which means the set objectives were being met, then we will start with another cycle in the next period for further investments. Now, what are the methods available with us for capital budgeting? So we have divided it in two categories. There are traditional methods, then we have modern methods. So when we talk about traditional methods, they are actually, they have certain drawbacks, because of which we had to come up with new and modern techniques of capital budgeting, which tried to cover, time value of money more extensively. So the traditional methods were payback period and ARR. ARR stands for accounting rate of return. And in modern methods, we have three kinds of techniques: NPV, which is net present value; IRR, which means internal rate of return; PI, which stands for profitability index. Starting with payback period, which is the most simpler method of capital budgeting. In this method, what we are actually trying to do is we want to know the time period in which we will actually recover the initial outlay. Now, initial outlay basically means the expenses, okay, or the cost of that investment, or whatever outflow that have been incurred. So this method refers to the period in which the proposal will generate cash to recover the initial investment made. So it purely emphasizes on the cash inflows, economic life, and the investment made in the project, with no consideration to time value of money. Now, through this method, selection of a proposal is based on the earning capacity of the project. So here only three things are being taken into view. One, the inflows. Second, the initial outflow, or you can say initial outlay. And third is the time period. So these three things will help us to know what the payback period is. Let's say a project requires me to invest an amount of 20,000, which is my initial outlay, or you can say the cash outflow is of 20,000. And every year I'm getting an inflow of, let's say, 5,000. So in how many years I'm going to recover this amount of 20,000? I'm receiving 5,000 every year as an inflow, and my initial outflow was of 20,000. And I want to know in how many years I'm going to recover this 20,000. Now it's very simple. I'll just simply divide 20,000, which was my initial outlay, by my annual inflows, which is 5,000. So 20,000 divided by 5,000 gives me 4, which means that I will recover this 20,000 in 4 years. 5,000 in the first year, 5,000 in the second year, 5,000 in the third year, and 5,000 in the fourth year. So total becomes 20,000. It means at the end of the fourth year, I'll be able to recover my entire investment, or I can say the entire outflow. So this is payback period. And it's very simple. But the only drawback of this method is that we are not considering the time value of money, which means that the inflows that I'm receiving at the end of first, second, third, and fourth year respectively have not been discounted to their present value, which makes it very vague, or you can say which makes it very unreasonable, because at the end of 2 years or 3 years, the value of those 5,000 might not be 5,000 in real terms. It might be different. So if I am trying to compare the value, then it should be discounted. So this is one of the drawback of payback period. So I'll give you an example which will make it more clear. So the formula is this: cash outlay, which means cash outflow, upon annual cash inflows. So let's see, this is an example. There are two types of machine X and machine Y. Machine X would cost you 18,000 and machine Y would cost you 15,000, which is your cash outflow, or you can say the cash outlay. And both the machines will have an annual inflow of 3,000, which means every year you're going to receive 3,000. Now you are required to calculate the payback period for both these machineries. So machinery X will be having a payback period of 18,000 divided by 3,000, which is initial outflow divided by annual inflow. So this gives me 6 years as the payback period. Now for machine Y, the payback period will be 15,000 divided by 3,000, which means initial outflow divided by annual inflow, which gives me 5 years as the payback period. Now, which investment would you prefer more? Investment X or investment in machine Y?
Ma'am, machine Y, because the payback period is much less.
Okay, because the payback period is much less. All right. So this is the criteria of judging the payback period. So whenever we are receiving a payback period of, let's say, like whenever we are comparing more than one option, then the option with the least payback period will be selected. Now, there's one more thing that you need to consider is that the initial outflow should be same or similar, because if there is a huge difference of, let's say, here the machines are somewhat similar, 18,000 and 15,000, but had it been like this, that machine X is worth rupees 1 lakh and machine Y is worth rupees, let's say, 20,000, then in that case this entire exercise will become futile, because already the investment is varying too much. So the payback period will also vary. So in those circumstances, it is very beneficial that you always uh, do discounted payback method, because this method will totally become futile in that case, because it does not consider time value of money. So this is very simple, and the only drawback is that it do not considers time value of money. And I guess it's already clear to you all. It's very simple. We just have to divide the annual investment, or you can say annual outflow or initial outflow, by the annual inflow. Now, in this payback period method, we might also have uneven cash flows. Now, how do we calculate payback period in that case? So the formula for that is years before full recovery plus unrecovered cost at the start of the year divided by cash flow during the year. If you could see the question that we have just discussed, now here the annual inflow was uniform, which means every year we were receiving 3,000 only. It was not uneven, or it was not, it was uniform. So it's very simple. But when the cash flows are uneven, which means in the first year I'm receiving 5,000, in the next year I'm receiving 3,000, in the next year I'm receiving 4,000. So in that case, how I am going to calculate the payback period? So for that, this is the formula. Let's do an example, and it will get more clear to you. So there's an investment of 2 lakh and it is expected to generate the given cash flows in the subsequent years till 6 years. So in year 1, I'm receiving 70,000. In year 2, I'm receiving 60,000.
In year 3, 55,000, year 4, 40,000, year 5, 30,000, in year 6, 25,000. Now I have to calculate the payback period for this investment. And then I have to, we actually have to tell that if management wants to recover the initial investment in 3 years or less, whether they should make this investment or not. So let's see. All right. So in that case, the initial outflow is of 2 lakhs. So first of all, what we are trying to do is we want to know in how many years are we actually able to recover this 2 lakhs. So for that, we will actually have to calculate the cumulative cash flow. So if you could see this picture, in the third column, I have calculated the cumulative cash flows, which is nothing but the addition of subsequent cash inflows. So for first year, it will remain same, 70,000. In year 2, the cumulative cash flow means the total cash inflow I have received in time period of 2 years, which will be 70,000 plus 60,000. मतलब 2 साल में टोटल कितना मैंने रिसीव कर लिया है वो ऐड होता चला जाएगा. So 2 years में मैंने टोटल रिसीव कर लिया है 1,30,000. Then in third year I have received 55,000 and total amount I have received in 3 years is 1,85,000. Now how I have calculated this amount? See third column में ना आप जो next value है आपकी second column की वो add कर देनी है. So if I want to calculate the value for second year in cumulative cash flow, how will I calculate? मैं 70,000 में 60,000 add कर दिया. I have got 1,30,000. थर्ड ईयर के लिए मैंने क्या किया 1,30,000 में 55,000 को ऐड कर दिया and I've got 1,85,000. For fourth year I have added 1,85,000 to 40,000. Then for fifth year I have done 2,25,000 plus 30,000 and then in sixth year 2,55,000 plus 25,000. So it gives me 2,80,000. So these are the cumulative cash inflows, which means the total inflow I have received in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and 6 years. So our initial outflow was of 2 lakh. तो मुझे ये 2 lakh amount जो है वो recover करनी है. So from this picture, I can see that in 3 years I can recover 1,85,000. All right, and the total amount that I have to recover is 2 lakh. So obviously अब बाकी की कैलकुलेशन हमें अलग तरीके से करनी पड़ेगी. सो थर्ड ईयर और यू कैन से 3 इयर्स तो होगा ही होगा एंड जो बाकी की अमाउंट है द रिमेनिंग अमाउंट व्हिच इज ऑफ 15,000 दैट आई विल बी रिकवरिंग इन few months of the fourth year. So payback period formula was given by years before full recovery, which means full recovery से पहले वाले years. इस क्वेश्चन में फुल रिकवरी से पहले वाले इयर्स कितने थे 3. आफ्टर दैट क्या करना है अब देखो. सो आफ्टर 1,85,000 हैव बीन रिकवर्ड द अमाउंट दैट इज स्टिल नीड्स टू बी रिकवर्ड इज 15,000. कैसे कैलकुलेट किया? टोटल था 2 लाख, कितना रिकवर हो गया 1,85,000. दोनों को सब्ट्रैक्ट किया, आई हैव गॉट 15,000 व्हिच मींस अभी मुझे 15,000 और रिकवर करना है. अब वो 15,000 कितने टाइम में रिकवर होगा? कुछ मंथ्स में होगा, क्योंकि फोर्थ ईयर में जो टोटल अमाउंट मैंने रिकवर करी है दैट इज 40,000 एंड दैट इज ह्यूज, बट आई ओनली हैव टू रिकवर 15,000. सो फॉर दैट व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू डू इज I will apply the unitary method, which means that in 1 year I am receiving 40,000. So in how many months I will recover 15,000? So you do not have to do anything. You just have to divide 15,000 by 40,000 and you got 0.375, which means कि आप 0.375 years में उस amount को recover कर लोगे. And if you multiply this 0.375 by 12, you will get the figure in months. ठीक है, वो आपको months में figure आ जाएगी अगर आपने उसको 12 से multiply कर दिया. If you want to do that, you can do that. Also, you can just simply divide 15,000 by 40,000, which means कि जो आपकी amount बचती है, ठीक है, divided by उस year में आप total कितना recover कर रहे हो. And in fourth year, the amount that I'm actually recovering is 40,000. So that is why I have divided 15,000 by 40,000. And My total payback period is 3.375 years. So I will recover this 2 lakh amount in a total of 3.375 years. 3 years तो बहुत easily निकल गया था. Cumulative cash flows check करो और देखो कि कहां तक आपकी full amount recover हो रही है. ठीक है, ज्यादा तो recover कर नहीं सकते क्योंकि 2 लाख recover करना है तो 4th year तो हम लिखेंगे नहीं. ठीक है, so we will write 3 years and the remaining amount will be calculated in this way. That is 15,000 by 40,000 and you got 0.375. So the total is 3.375 years. So this is when we are given uneven cash flows. Okay, which means uniform cash flows nahi given hai. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, moving on to the next method, that is accounting rate of return. Now, this accounting rate of return is actually a method in which we are trying to do a kind of comparison. It ensures that the compensation of expected profitability of project through the concept of net earnings. However, this method also ignores time value of money and doesn't consider the length of life of the project. Also, it is not consistent with the firm's objective of maximizing the market value of shares. So in this method, again, the time value concept is ignored because, payback method and ARR method, these are traditional methods in which we were not paying much attention to time value concept. So that is why modern methods were being brought into the picture. So this ARR method actually compares the average income and the average investment. Whatever income we are going to generate from that investment divided by the cost of investment, or we can say average investment. Okay? So this comparison or this ratio gives us accounting rate of return. So this example is XYZ company is looking to invest in some new machinery to replace its current malfunctioning one. Okay? They are trying to replace the machinery because it's not working well. Now the new machinery cost rupees 4,20,000 and would increase their annual revenue by 2 lakhs, which means that the new machinery is going to cost 4,20,000 and their annual revenues are going to increase by 2 lakhs, which means there will be an increment of 2 lakh in the revenues, or you can say inflows, and the annual expenses by 50,000. Obviously, there might be some additional expenses also, and that is 50,000. Now, the machine is estimated to have a useful life of 12 years and zero salvage value. Zero salvage value means that there is no scrap value. At the end of 12 years, the machinery might or might not have a scrap value, which means that in market, if at the end of 12 years, if you're going to sell it off, then it is possible that you might realize some value on the sale of it, or you might not realize anything on it. Okay? So if you realize something, which means the asset have a salvage value or scrap value. If you're not able to realize anything, it means the asset do not have any scrap value or salvage value. And these scrap value or salvage value form a very important part in the calculation of depreciation. So here the machine has an expected life of 12 years. All right, so let's start. So here inflows. First of all, since we have to calculate two things, the average profit that we are going to generate, or you can say average revenue, and the next thing is average investment. Average investment is very simple. We just divide the initial investment by 2. Okay, so that gives us average investment. So our investment or the cost of investment was 4,20,000, if you could see in this example. So our average investment will become 4,20,000 divided by 2, which is 2,10,000. Now, how do we calculate the average return or average revenue or average profit? So first thing is that we want to calculate the total inflows of the total time period. So we have a time period of 12 years. So we will calculate the inflows for those 12 years. So in this example, we were given that the machinery is going to generate 2 lakh annual inflows. So 2 lakh for 1 year. And since we want to calculate it for 12 years, so we will multiply 2 lakh by 12. So we have got 24 lakhs as the inflow for 12 years. Now, next thing will be that we will deduct the annual expenses. Annual expenses were 50,000. And again, we have to calculate it for 12 years. So we will multiply it by 12. And the total expenses for 12 years is 6 lakh. We will deduct this 6 lakh from the inflow of 24 lakhs. Okay. Next thing that we are going to deduct is depreciation. See, it's very similar to the calculation of net profit, how we do it in P&L statement. We write down all our incomes, then we subtract all our expenses, and depreciation is also deducted from it, and then we got the total profit. So in a similar way, we are doing this exercise. So first we have calculated the inflows, then we have calculated the expenses, and now we are deducting the depreciation. Now see, the formula for depreciation is the total investment that we have made, or you can say the total cost minus the salvage value, if any, divided by number of years, or you can say expected life. That gives you annual depreciation. Now here, since there was no salvage value, so it is very simple that whatever is the total cost of the machinery divided by 12 will give me annual depreciation. But since I want to calculate it for all the 12 years, so I'll have to again multiply it by 12. So this exercise becomes futile. So I can just simply say 4,20,000 because 12 and 12 will get cancelled. So depreciation is 4,20,000. Now, after deducting the depreciation and annual expenses from the inflows, the total profit comes out to be 13,80,000. So I have got the total profit. Now I will calculate average profit, which means I will divide this total profit by 12 years. So 13,80,000 divided by 12 will give me the average annual profit, which comes out to be 1,15,000. And average investment I have already calculated, 4,20,000 divided by 2. Now the formula for ARR is average return or average profit divided by average investment. So 1,15,000 divided by 2,10,000, which gives me, you can multiply this by 100 and then you will get the figure in percentage terms. So this gives me 54.76% as the accounting rate of return. So this was about accounting rate of return. Again, it's very simple. Both the traditional methods were very simple. They were not very lengthy, and the calculations were not very long. But the only drawback is that they ignore the time value concept. So guys, is it clear to you all, this method of ARR?
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Okay. And I'll start with the modern methods of capital budgeting in the next lecture. So we'll restrict ourselves to these two methods for this lecture. So ARR and PI, the payback method, were the two traditional methods that we have. So let's have a quick recap of both these two methods. So when we are considering payback method, we simply divide the cash outlay by the annual cash inflows for uniform cash inflows. But when we are having uneven cash flows, then the years before full recovery plus unrecovered cost at the start of the year divided by cash flow during the year. And for ARR method, we divide average income by the average investment. So I'll end it here, and we'll start with the modern techniques of capital budgeting in the next lecture. All right, thank you guys.